From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio's How Stuff Works.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We are joined, as always, with our super producer, Paul, Mission Control Decant. Most importantly, you are here, and that makes this stuff they don't want you to know. A very fascinating episode, Matt. This is something that you brought together with us, and it explores in a different way some of the topics that we have touched on in our earlier shows.
Oh, yeah, all sorts of different things. Everything from the nature of human beings and how we like to exist with one another to when that gets taken a little too far, to then how those experiences can influence and inspire. Yeah,
we're talking about the process of art as well. You know, this is a wide-ranging thing. I know some of us listening are saying, guys, what are you actually talking about today? Yeah. We are not diving into these waters alone. We are joined today with a very special guest, the musician Jon Bryant, who has a new album, Cult Classic, releasing May 17th of this year. You can pre-order it on Amazon now. Welcome to the show, Jon.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, and I have to jump in really quick, Matt.
Yeah.
You had a very lovely opening there, but I got to say you buried the lead ever so slightly.
Oh, did I?
Just a little bit.
Did I?
We're absolutely talking about art. We're talking about the things that make humans thrive and that, allow us to express ourselves. But we're also talking about a very specific type of experience, and that's being a member of a cult and the nature of that and the term itself and how no one in a cult calls a cult, and
it's a movement.
It's a movement or it's an idea. But we have in Jon not only a very talented musician, but someone who, I don't know if you use the term escaped, and that's something that you hear come up and maybe it's not your experience, but someone that has been in a situation and then is no longer in that situation with the NXIVM group, or let's call it what it is, a cult.
Yeah, as you said earlier, I don't feel like I ever had to escape it, but it was harder to leave than I thought, I should say.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I want to get into that a little bit more, just escaping more as a symbolic thing of maybe your own, your thoughts and your thought processes and everything. But that's, again, that might be a strong word, because ultimately a lot of people are able to find the silver lining and that kind of thing. But let's jump in here and let's talk about something that's a little more general level or a little higher level. Let's talk about tribalism. And, we as humans are solitary sometimes. Some of us, like a few of us in this room here, are a little more introverted and like to be by ourselves at times. But ultimately, we're looking for connection with other people. And, with our interconnected world now, it's all on these black screens rather than, or at least mostly on these black screens rather than in person. And just what do you think about that? How do you feel about society right now, Jon, and kind of where we are with our interconnectedness?
Well, I mean, you walk outside, and I now kind of intentionally bump into people when they're looking on their phones and walking, because it's everywhere. People are inundated with information and they're addicted to it. So they're kind of in this bubble of information, and they can go to whatever idea or ideology that they want and get sucked in so easily, because we have these devices that reinforce those beliefs and reinforce a feeling of, I guess, importance and value. So the more value you get out of that device, or that, just speaking about phones, for instance, it's everywhere, and then it spreads into politics, obviously, and other aspects of life. But yeah, it's everywhere I look, man. And especially after this experience, I pick it up. I'm a little more in tune to that.
There's some incredible stuff that we found reading about your experience and your journey. One line in particular really stuck out to me, Jon. It was the note that falling into a belief system is like dying in your sleep. You don't notice it when it happens. And something about that struck me profoundly, and I think it ties into the point about the ubiquity of smartphones. It's strange how quickly the oddest things become normal for our species, you know? And with that in mind, I was wondering, could you tell us a little bit about your initial encounters and how you came to find yourself from Seattle to Vancouver, and how you got involved with this group initially?
Sure. So I'm originally from the east coast of Canada, and about 9 years ago I moved to Seattle. I moved out there for a girl, and I got married, and then I got divorced about a year later. It was one of those mistakes that I kind of referenced and did what I did. It's just, you know, one of those moments in life when I just trusted and fell into something that I shouldn't have fallen into. Fast forward about a year and a half, 2 years, I decided to move back to Canada, but I moved to Vancouver and sort of set up shop there. I didn't know a whole lot of people. I love searching for new experiences and new groups and new friends. And so I found myself in Vancouver, kind of lonely and kind of just in this weird place that I hadn't been to I hadn't been in a long time. So I started making friends. I had some people talk to me about this group that they were a part of, and it was kind of exclusive, and it was all about bettering oneself, bettering the world. It's about, you know, growing your business. It opens you up to new opportunities. It's been the best. This is how it was explained to me. It was the best thing that these people had ever been introduced to. And these are people that I trusted, people that I had been close to. These were one of the few people. The one that recruited me was somebody that I'd known for a few years at that point. So it took a few months of persuasion, and the pitch of what are you waiting for? You know, every moment you wait, you're losing out on this opportunity. It's wouldn't you, if you knew you could change your life in the most impactful ways, wouldn't you spend a couple $1,000s to just do that? To be able to control your emotions, to be able to control your anger. I have like an anger problem. I did at that time. And so they kind of target your weaknesses and then find a way to persuade you to overcome those and become a part of this group. So.
And that's just in the recruitment process before you were even involved with the group officially?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was in the recruitment process. Yeah.
There's this contagious energy, you know, because we all want to belong to something larger than ourselves, right? I think as you noted earlier, this was another quote that really stuck out to me. To be in a cult is to be human. And there's something with that, you know, to Matt's point about tribalism. I'm wondering, when did you begin to feel that maybe something was amiss? Like, when did you get, you know, the Spidey sense moment or the Twilight Zone music ever playing? Was there a moment, or was it a gradual process of disassociation?
I think the first week of introduction, the intro course that they do, it's a 5-day intensive. You show up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes you'll be staying until 1 or 2 a.m.
Wow.
And that'll go on for 5 days straight. So there's the sleep deprivation that they kind of take you through, and then they limit your ability, or they discourage leaving the room when things are going on, when discussions are being talked about. They want you to stay engaged in the room, listening to the information that's being disseminated. So we were never really we were given water breaks, but they were few and far between, and then we'd have lunch and dinner. So I think around the first few days, I started to feel strange, because you'd show up in the morning, you know, you'd be hanging out a bit, and then you go in the room, and there'd be a plaque on the wall, a a big plaque with text that reads something to the tune of, "We promise to," like a bunch of, it was basically a mantra to Keith, saying, "We won't spread this information to anyone who's not a part of this group. We won't talk about it." So it was like kind of like this Fight Club moment where I was like, "Oh God,
Whoa,
this feels strange." And at first I was like, "Oh, this is kind of weird, but I'll get over it." And then as it went on, I think it got worse. But at the same time, I was enjoying it. So it was hard to just to let that aspect dictate my final decision of, what I was going to do when the week was over and if I was going to continue on with it. Right.
yeah.
So it was tricky. And then they have the secret handshakes and they have,
Wait, really?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can't describe that to us, right?
That may be
I don't think I can. I mean, I don't know. I probably shouldn't.
Oh man.
It was strange. I think, there was some weird nuances about that group that it was just this weird like moment of, this is mind control. Is this mind control 101 now?
Yeah.
It was just so funny thinking about it now, because it's been a few years, but I really enjoyed that week. And I can't get away from that. I can't get away from the fact that I liked the learning aspects. I liked the people. I liked the group atmosphere. I liked the tribalism to a point, to the point where I decided to go on for a few more months with it. And that those weird, strange behaviors and nuances didn't bother me as much as I now think they should. Yeah.
Jon, tell me more about the interactions between you and the other members or the other people who were joining up. What is that like? Did you get a sense early on that there is a very specific pattern of beliefs that's shared almost immediately, or is it something that when you're talking to maybe, I don't even know, the superior, what would a superior person look like in the group, like someone who's actually teaching? I guess I want to know more about the structure of it.
Yeah, so they talked in the first day about the hierarchy of the structure of the group, and they related it to the military and to school systems. You have the students, you have teachers, you have the dean, you have the president, and the military is the same thing, and they wear uniforms. We had sashes around our necks, the velvety kind of scarves that we wore around our necks. So in the room, there were the beginners. We were the new people, and we wore the yellow sashes. And then the next group up, I can't remember the color, but they were the moderators of the groups. So we'd sit in a classroom setting, we'd watch a video, and then we'd go off, break into groups, and talk about what was going on. We would explain what we were thinking about. So if they'd bring up the idea of belief, what is belief? And then we'd go into a group and talk about, okay, what does belief actually mean? Can we decide on one definition, one thing? And then we'd spend about 10 minutes talking about that. And then we'd go back and it'd be, what is truth? And what is, so it's philosophical, it's psychological kind of learning that you'd be doing in group settings. So you'd have a moderator, and then the next group up, or the next level would be, level 3, I guess. I can't remember the exact names for the levels, but they had the people that were in charge of that city's headquarters. So there would be that group. And then the next group up after that would be the teachers from Albany that they would send out. So we had one of those that was teaching the entire week.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So sashes. I guess I've never had a good visual for that particular group, but I can actually see it now.
It makes me think, was there some kind of like hierarchy, sort of like belts and karate or something like that? Do you get a different one depending on your level? This is just like a shot in the dark question.
That's exactly it. That's probably the most similar to what their system was the karate hierarchy. So we'd have different colored belts, but they were sashes.
And we'll continue our exploration of NXIVM with Jon Bryant after a word from our sponsor. And we're back. One thing that's inspiring about this is, A lot of our listeners out there have delved into the stories of people who join these kinds of movements and then later become disillusioned. And while you hear a ton of different experiences, one thing that's inspiring about this, at least from my perspective, is that it sounds as if you have found useful knowledge through this, and it sounds like you were able to come away with some positive lessons. Would you say that's accurate?
That's absolutely accurate. Yeah. I have no regrets about joining, and I have no regrets about the time I was in that group. I think if I'd stayed any longer, I would have had regrets because there was more money to be spent and there was time that they wanted from me, But I feel like I got in, had that experience, and wrote it out for an appropriate amount of time that I got enough information. I got enough about what was going on there that I felt it was okay to leave. And I feel lucky. I feel fortunate because I wanted to continue, but yeah.
And I appreciate that perspective. If something is doing what you set out to accomplish, then there's no reason to leave, but or there's no reason to think negatively about it. But knowing what you know now about Keith and about the things that were happening behind the scenes, I mean, were you aware of any of that, of some of the way he was treating women and some of the kind of recruitment that was a little bit more strong arm, kind of borderline human trafficking kind of going on? Like, was this all shocking to you, or what was your perspective on that?
Yeah, but I think the information that came out was quite shocking because they painted a picture. I never met Keith, but they really painted a picture of him as being the white Dalai Lama. He was the most ethical. They actually said this, that the most ethical and the most the smartest and most ethical man alive. He was a master problem solver. He graduated at the top of his class with 3 degrees. They went through this whole list of accomplishments that Keith had. He's learning to speak in full sentences by the age of 1, and classically trained in piano. He could speak so many languages, but some of it came out to be what I've read is untrue. Like people that knew him in school and knew his grades. His GPA apparently was 2.26, which I don't think is very good.
Oh, jeez. Nope.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, he was kind of revered. I believe he was referred to as Vanguard, and they celebrate his birthday and call it V-Day. I mean, it's very much a worshiping kind of scenario. Did that part strike you as odd? Did you come from a background of like Eastern religion and that, so it was maybe something along the lines of something that you'd already been, immersed in? Or I'm just wondering what the jump was from seeing this and not thinking it was a little strange.
Yeah, no, I thought the Vanguard thing was very strange. Because in the learning room, which had a higher value than the rooms outside of that room in the building that we were in, that room, the specific room where we were learning, was to be respected, and there would be bows before and after you'd leave. So there were, the leaders of this, or the teachers and some of the people that ran that headquarters, they'd bow when they'd leave, and then I'd see people like my peers starting to do that. And I'm like, oh, this is so strange.
So you say you did think that part was strange, but what was your background that maybe made an organization like this a little more palatable than maybe someone who came across it and was like, I don't know, this is a little odd. Like, to me, from the start, just reading about it, it feels like a Scientology kind of situation, which I know is accepted by many. And just want to put out there that 16,000 people in the U.S. and Mexico took these courses. So you are not alone, and this was not a small, tight-knit group. This was very widespread.
A lot of people, yeah. And a lot of them doctors and lawyers and all walks of life. So back to, having to say Vanguard. So in the room, which, I was saying was to be revered and respected as the learning room, we would have to refer to Vanguard, or what this name, Keith. We had to refer to Keith as Vanguard, but outside of that room, we could say Keith. So that was weird. And that was immediately, I remember saying Keith, and then someone correcting me and saying, no, it's Vanguard. This room is sacred.
Oh man,
that was the kind of suggestions that were pushed my way when I'd push up against it.
And we know that there's such power in ritualism and symbolism, and our brains, are hardwired to seek out that kind of structure. But in the case of Keith, or excuse me, in the case of Vanguard, what we find is that eventually, as you said, eventually a lot of people started finding plot holes in the official narrative, right, of his talents, of his intelligence. And before we went on the air today, Jon, we were chatting just a little bit. Keith is actually, as we record this today, on trial. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. I was reading a story about it just now as well, right before we came on the air. I was just reading what they were saying, and yeah, what a day.
Did the fact that it
good
goes
timing.
Did the fact that this has actually gone to trial, when you first heard about the allegations and the legal problems, was any of it deeply surprising to you? Because it sounds like by the time a lot of this stuff had come out, you had already sort of moved on from the organization.
Yeah, I had been out for, I'd say, 7 months at that point. Yeah, I think it was March 2017 or February 2017. I got a call about it. The one who recruited me, my friend, called and said, "Just want you to know, heads up, there's going to be some information coming out very soon." And in short, she just said, "I've left the group, I've left NXIVM, and the information's quite disgusting." And then she didn't say much more, and I was like, oh my God, like, okay. So I just started Googling, and then the next day, 2 days, more information came out. And my friend Sarah is the one who whistle blew everything. So,
oh my gosh,
I applaud her.
Wow. Okay. I just have a couple of questions that aren't even that important, but I'm just interested. Roughly how much did it cost? Roughly how much did it cost to, join the group and then be there for however many weeks?
So for the first week, it cost $2,400 US.
Wow.
I believe. Yeah.
That's interesting. I've seen some sources saying each course was upwards of 5,000. Would that have been for the whole course? So it's like a multi-week course?
That would be a 2-week. Yeah, that'd be more of a 2-week thing. They'd charge you 5,000. And people did. I mean, there were countless courses you could take, weekend retreats, and they'd all be so expensive. And that was, I think, the financial cost was one of the major factors in me getting out. This before, all this information came out. I was just like, I'm a musician, man. My income's limited. I can't afford a $5,000 weekend, and why would I go to Albany? That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
At least let's go to the Bahamas. Let's really enjoy this.
Well, it makes sense in a way that you would have a lot of doctors and lawyers and accomplished musicians and other people who are joining it, because there is that paywall. It is kind of scary. We've heard stories before in the past of people wanting so badly to be in an organization like this that loans will be taken out and really deteriorating financial situations.
Yeah, there's also a bit of a sunk cost fallacy that happens with people. When you get so involved, if you've spent tens of thousands of dollars on something, you get to where it might psychologically feel like a point of no return. However, in your case, Jon, in your case, one thing that really, again, I think I'm overusing the word inspired, but one thing that inspired us was that you have used, in part, your experience with this organization as a way to light the fire of your own artistic exploration and expression. You made it through this experience, and would you say that this has informed the music that you're making now?
Yeah, absolutely. When I found out it was a cult, my immediate kind of thoughts were, "Oh wow, I know what I'm going to be writing about for a while." And it was hard to get away from, because I started writing songs about my experience and then trying to write outside of that, outside of the concept of a cult was hard. It became hard for me during the months that had passed since the information came out. And I never intended to write a concept album. And it's not really strictly a concept album, but it's very influenced by my experience. And I do make reference in most of the songs to tribalism or cult behavior, cults, outside of the typical idea of what a cult is in society, and how we kind of pick and choose what we want to believe, and we'll just reinforce that till the cows come home,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is definitely in there. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get into this a little more. You mentioned the song, or we both mentioned the song "Did What I Did," and that is on the album, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this one you said it was influenced a bit by your previous relationship. Let's go ahead and just as everybody together as a tribe,
Hey.
let's listen to a clip from "Did What I Did," and we'll come right back. Okay, so in my mind, Jon, that song is fantastic, by the way. That hook, I've been singing in my car a lot, loudly and in a range that I'm unable to hit.
Hitting that falsetto, Matt?
Falsetto.
Yeah, it's really, really good, though. And it's just... Okay, so you told us a little bit about what it is about, but is that fully encompassed, or is there anything else that's going into this song? The video, the music video, you can go online right now and watch it if you have a computer near you. It is wonderful with children. It's a bunch of children at school who have done something terrible, and they're taking school photos. And it's really great to see the kids dancing in their moment of their rebellious nature to do something small like TPing a car or something, and then watching them have regret in that moment that they're taking the school photos. So, did you have that feeling at some point of reveling in something then leading to just full on regret?
Yeah. I have. I mean, I've had a number of those experiences through my life. Yeah, the idea of regret is I'm not certain if I'm totally regretful of. Yeah, I mean, I think I said earlier, I don't regret going in it, but there was an element of shame. I think that started to permeate as the information came out. Like, oh man, I was a part of this. In some way, I wasn't a part of anything that was going on, of course, but I paid money into this, and I supported this man and these people that did these things, these horrible, disgusting things to these people. So there was, the rebellion of, and I guess I didn't mention earlier, I grew up in church. I grew up in a Protestant kind of Baptist denomination, and then I. Post-divorce in 2013, I kind of left the church and I stopped I stopped being a part of it. And this organization sort of filled that void in some way, or so I thought it would.
Yeah, well, I guess just the song is so great, and the main lyric of "I did what I did because I wanted to." It's just rings so true for I think all of us, and a lot of the things we do. We live our lives, and we, to the best of our ability, we do what we would like to do. But the consequences of these things they always exist, and it's that butterfly effect, right? Man. Oh, it's really, really good. I'm just gonna sit here and just keep listening to it in my mind for a little bit. You guys go ahead and talk for a while.
Okay. So, what we're touching on here is a very personal, specific story, but it's also a touchstone for larger questions that it seems our species has quarreled with for a long time and continues to do. One thing that we thought would be of crucial importance to our audience here is to hear any advice you have for people who are maybe involved in an organization that might be damaging to them, or have a loved one who is involved in something. Do you have any insight on how people would navigate that kind of situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. You can't come at it as an adversary, because you'll just get shut down. There's no conversation. There's no constructive conversation that would happen after, if you came in as an adversary, as somebody who's critical of the organization. But it's a matter of getting people to realize that there's something outside of it, which is tricky and it's hard to do, but it's also very specific to that person. So what I think why cults flourish is because a lot of people don't have safe places to go to, or they don't feel like they have safe places to go to, and they don't have that safety net to fall back on. If they left the cult, if they don't have anywhere to fall back on, they're only going to become more invested in it. I think to turn away from something like a cult that eventually becomes your family, your social group, your entire your entire life revolves around this ideology and these people. It's tough to leave that, but it's not impossible, and it's a lot of people do it. They just need people, and I think what it comes down to is love, and it's a cliche thing to say, but people that leave, they have people around them that care enough to walk with them, even through the time when they're in it so deep, and they'll help them come out. I mean, that's I guess it's just to be present and not exclude that person from their life as they have their family or their friends. Then again, a lot of people in the group kind of cut off communication with that family.
How difficult was it to physically break away from the group? Were you pursued at all?
Yeah. I got calls, and I got questions from the Albany office, as well as my friend who is kind of my recruiter rather. And she was asking if I was going to be coming back at any point, and I kind of kept putting it off. The more I was out of it, the more I realized, I don't think I need this. I got some information that I thought was good, and the people were nice, but we weren't living in such close quarters that they became family. The more time that passed that I was away from it, the easier it became to detach. And that was, I think, about 6 months after I started was when I really kind of just quit going.
Hey, we're just going to jump in here and take a quick word from our sponsor, then we'll get right back into it. And we're back with Jon Bryant.
Were there any other red flags that occurred to you when you were inside the organization, other than the Vanguard and some of the weird language and some of the spaces? Because, I mean, you were in it more from the perspective of being a self-help situation, right? Is that how you would characterize it?
Yeah. just from a learning standpoint, I thought it was a really interesting thing to do.
So what were, if any other red flags that you saw, whether it was with talking to people? Did you have any interaction with folks that were in this inner circle, or maybe signs that later, when you had more context, you could kind of put together, maybe there was something going on that I just didn't understand the full scope of?
Yeah, I remember telling somebody there that I'd like to tell my girlfriend about some of this stuff. And it was very, like, it wasn't taken well. And it was highly discouraged talking about what I was learning, talking about some stuff that I was, learning in the room. That was really weird. That gave me kind of shivers. Just being told that I can't talk about what I'm doing here. That was the biggest thing. It was like, you're taking my freedom of speech in a way. You're disabling my autonomy, because I should be able to talk about stuff.
Did you have to sign any kind of NDA or any kind of paperwork when you signed up, like that, kind of codified that?
To not disclose stuff?
Yeah. I mean, Claire Bronfman has gone after lots of people that have talked and spoken out about what was going on. I even back in 2012, there were some things that were coming up, some odd, I don't know exactly what it was, but she sued people. She really went after people. And she's the daughter of the Seagram's fortune. So she's $500 million in net worth. So she has the financial means to go after these people and really hurt them. So a lot of people, that's why there wasn't a whole lot of, when I kind of got into it, I did some research, and I couldn't find a whole lot about it, because I think she just went after people and sued them, or threatened to sue them.
Wow. So the stuff that they literally don't want you to know, people are being prosecuted for that stuff right now. But when it gets to the, I guess the spiritual belief system, or the higher level belief system, is there any of that we can talk about, or is that all the no, don't talk about it stuff?
They didn't push any specific spiritual doctrines. They seemed pretty humanist. Like, we have the potential to be like gods in a way. That's what it came across as, at least. And Keith is the one guy who's accessed all this knowledge. So it felt like psychology meets Scientology, but without any of the reading. So they did these things called EMs that were emotional. It's exploration of meaning. You'd sit on a chair, and then the group leader would walk you through an exploration. I mean, you go into your childhood. If you had some sort of hang up in your life, say anger, or you can't be on time, or you blurt out, such and such at the wrong time, or, anything that's a hang up in your life, you can go back and you can find the moment in your life when that started, and you can change that narrative. So it was quasi psychology, Scientology kind of stuff. And if people had jealousy issues, they'd miraculously stop being jealous, or they'd stop getting angry. So
that's really interesting, though, because it's also just counseling, or, I mean, it's something that a lot of us probably need, myself included. So that's fascinating.
I think now that I've done a bit of research, it's been a few years, I've done research on what, the scientific community, the psychological community have said, and about similar things. And it seems like Keith just took a lot of different ideas from different branches of education and psychology and science. He just sort of like repackaged and rebranded this belief system. We haven't really talked about it yet, but he's being charged for child pornography and having sex with a 15-year-old. And it's really gruesome stuff. And he got people to go along with it, and people knew, and nothing was done.
Well, and not to mention this kind of subgroup that Allison Mack and others were involved in, the kind of recruiting of the personal,
the inner circle.
Yeah, the inner circle. But it really felt more like recruiting personal members of some kind of secret harem, almost, I guess, that was just for the leader, or the Vanguard. How does that hit you? That almost seems like even that was lower, buried more so than even the kind of surface level strange dealings that were going on. This was something that only certain people knew, that was directly, for the sexual supplication of this man.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite a shock to the system. I mean, that was the moment of shame, I think, of being a part of a group like that, or being associated in any way with that. Yeah, that felt weird and an uncomfortable feeling. Again, it just, it allowed me to write, and that's kind of what I really gleaned from it, was this discomfort. So now I kind of search out for discomfort. I want to be uncomfortable in life to a point. I don't want suffering, but I think it's good to be uncomfortable and to be put in difficult situations, because, well, you learn so much from it. Yeah,
absolutely agree. It's funny because sometimes we give cliches a rough time, but cliches are often only cliches because they're true, and the things that we survive do make us stronger in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've learned so much, for sure.
Well, Jon, we're gonna play another one of your songs, at least a clip from it. It's a song called "Cultivated." Can you tell us about it before we play it? Because we're going to play the song, and then we'll come back and wrap up the show. Just tell us about "Cultivated."
Yeah. So "Cultivated" was written sort of from the perspective of a relationship, but the overarching relationship of the cult member to the cult is sort of what I'm sort of using the imagery of the metaphors to emphasize that sort of relationship. But it could be a toxic relationship between lovers, or between family members. So it just emphasizes how difficult it is for people to leave, and it's about some of my friends that were in it, and were stuck in it for so long, and used lost so much of their life and their energy to it.
Man, there's some great lyrics in this thing. All right, well, let's go ahead and listen to this. This is "Cultivated" by Jon Bryant.
It's a fixation, I'm cultivated now. It's not what I love, but what you won't allow. You're asking for a promise I can't keep. You like to see me on my knees, begging for the silence when you scream. I'm sinking down to the depths of the ocean. I'm hanging on to the weight of my love. If I let go of it all, I could leave, but I know I won't. Under the surface, the water fills my lungs. This ground I worship has swallowed up its young. And you kill for a promise I can't keep. Just like a game of hide and seek. The secrets in the silence when you scream.
Oh man, this is another song that is now just rattling around in my head. Thank you so much, Jon, because it will not leave. It's going to be there forever.
Oh, and unfortunately, we won't have the episode going on forever. We wish we could play the whole album. Folks, you'll have to hear it for yourselves. But there is one last thing that we absolutely could not let go while we had you here with us on the show, and that's the music video. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, to me, I mean, the video is as compelling as the song. it depicts what you could describe as a cult kind of ritual or a recruitment process, but it's more the kind of Manson type cults of the 60s where there's some kind of guru giving people what presumably is LSD or could be something else. It doesn't really matter.
But
it's
it
just
also
more like, it's like almost, I look at it as like a metaphor for like this offering of truth, and then it all kind of unwinds and becomes, you see what this really means, and it parallels the lyrics in the song too. Can you kind of walk us through it a little bit?
just it's also just a baptism. That's exactly what I see. I see a baptism. Because I grew up Christian too. So anyway, let's just put that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you certainly touched on a lot of what the video was intended to demonstrate. And growing up Christian, I used some of the strange kind of offshoot Christian cult-like groups that sell these products to that will heal you or that will give you enlightenment and will make your lives better. You'll get money, or you'll get fame, or you'll get all your ailments will leave you. And the idea was we made an infomercial that was before the song. Now it's a separate part of the video, I think, but you can still see it. It's on my YouTube page, where it's this man. It was really weird to release it because no one knew what was going on. We just released the infomercial first, and then a few weeks later we released the video with the infomercial. So people were like, "What the heck is going on here, man? This is so weird. What's going on, John?" And but basically, it sets it up. This man is super positive. He's kind of the guru type, but he's sort of like sort of a failing cult leader. Like he sort of doesn't look like the success story that usually cult leaders project. And then the video happens, and that you see this group lined up, and they're all receiving this magical elixir, this tincture of whatever their dreams or whatever they want in life. That's kind of what it represents. So enlightenment or healing or whatever. And then the video ends with them all dying. They all perish. They all, fall prey to this man, and this man walks away. And then I throughout the video, I'm kind of singing the song, and then at the end of it, I help him. I'm the one that survived. I'm his protege, and I'm filming him for his next video, which is kind of throwing it back to the infomercial. So, and it's very dark. It's a very dark, somber video, and the infomercial is the complete opposite. It's very corny and lighthearted. Yeah.
See, now in my mind, that was taking us back in time to show you shooting the first video with him, as like you were the inside guy, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's also the one of the ways that we kind of wanted it to be interpreted. Either that, or I'm helping him on his next one. But yeah, it's either or.
Either way, super creepy and wonderful video to an awesome song.
And don't take our word for it. You can check that out today. Jon Bryant, thank you so much for coming on the show with us, and thank you for introducing everyone to a peek behind the curtain. I think we can all agree that these sorts of experiences are always intensely personal, and it's powerful to be able to speak with someone who has firsthand experience with things that, many people just read about in the paper weeks after it happens. So again, as I said, we'd love to play the full album on our show, but I don't think we could get away with that.
Network said we could, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe after the album's out.
Yeah, this time around. Yeah, maybe we should wait till the album's out. But in the meantime, where can our listeners go if they would like to hear more of your work or learn more about your process and your music?
You can go to any platform that has my music, which would be Spotify, Apple, Pandora, Amazon, any of the major ones, Deezer in France. Like it's everywhere. All my music is online, and you can listen for free on YouTube or those platforms. And then I have a website as well that has a bio and all that. So if people want to learn more, please follow me on Instagram, kind of on my day-to-day. I'm pretty active on that. And then lots coming out though in the next few weeks with videos, and then The album comes out on May 17th. So yeah, just gearing up for a big year. Lots of touring in North America, Europe, and Australia. Just it's very exciting.
Are you touring with anybody in particular?
In Europe with Radical Face, and then in North America, we're still figuring that out.
I remember Radical Face. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
he's great.
Well, let us know if you make it down to Atlanta. We will. It's not the perfect city, but we have amazing food. I've dealt with that.
I would love to. Yeah, I'm so sad I'm not there right now.
Well, we were hoping to do it in person, but maybe we can do it again. And either way, hit us up when you're back, and we'll have a beer and just chat more about music and cults.
Yes, and we want to come to your concert. So yeah, just let us know.
In the meantime, I'll join another cult and then write another album so we can do this again in a few years.
Oh,
hell
man.
Yeah.
Sounds like you were really taking one for the team, my friend. Okay, good, because I was next up in our cult rotation.
Yeah.
So I'll dodge that one.
Okay.
So thanks as always to our super producer, Paul Mission Control Decant. Thanks to you, Jon Bryant. Check out the music. Stay tuned for the album coming out in May. We want to hear your stories, folks, your personal experiences with organizations. When did you learn that something you thought was maybe self-help or multi-level marketing or something? When did you learn that there was something amiss? You can let us know about your stories on our Facebook page. Here's Where It Gets Crazy, or Instagram or Twitter. We're all over the place on the internet.
Yeah, and if you don't want to do that stuff, you can call us and leave a voicemail. You get 3 minutes. It's pretty great. You can leave 5 3-minute messages if you want to tell us a whole story, or you can keep it super brief. Either way, we'd be happy to hear from you, and you might get on the air. Our number is 1-833-STDWYTK. I've been listening to messages all week. Y'all are amazing. Keep doing it. But if you don't want to leave a message, you don't want to do that stuff, you don't like social media, you can also contact us the good old-fashioned way. We are
conspiracy@iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio's How Stuff Works. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.